in the forests and riverlands of South Asia, where light falls in broken gold through dense canopies and shadows stretch across the undergrowth, a presence moves almost unseen. The Bengal tiger, a predator of immense strength and quiet precision, lives between visibility and illusion. Its orange coat, vivid to human eyes, dissolves into the forest for those it hunts, becoming part of the landscape itself. Second in size only to its northern relative, yet unmatched in adaptability, it walks through mangroves, grasslands, and ancient forests, shaping the balance of life wherever it goes. This is the story of an animal built for silence, power, and patience, a hunter whose very appearance is a deception. Part 1. Origins. In the long history of the cat family, the lineage that would one day give rise to the Bengal tiger began as part of a group of predators known for strength, stealth, and precision. These cats belong to the genus Panthera, a lineage that includes lions, leopards, jaguars, and snow leopards. What unites them is not only size and power, but the ability to roar, a trait shaped by specialized structures in the throat and skull that amplify sound across great distances. The ancestors of tigers are believed to have emerged in Asia, spreading across vast landscapes over many thousands of years. Fossil evidence suggests that early tiger-like cats roamed forests and open woodlands, gradually adapting to different climates and prey. Over time, populations became separated by mountains, rivers, and shifting ecosystems, leading to the development of distinct subspecies. Among these, the Bengal tiger came to dominate the dense and varied environments of the Indian subcontinent. While closely related to the Siberian tiger of the far north, the Bengal tiger evolved under very different conditions. Where the Siberian tiger adapted to cold forests and snowy terrain, growing larger and heavier to conserve heat, the Bengal tiger developed in warmer regions filled with thick vegetation, seasonal rains, and an abundance of prey. As a result, it became one of the largest tiger subspecies, second only to its northern relative on average, yet often matching it in length and agility. Along the eastern edges of the Indian subcontinent, particularly near the regions that now form the border with Myanmar, the range of the Bengal tiger approached that of the Indo-Chinese tiger. In these transitional landscapes, where dense forests extended without clear interruption, it is likely that tigers move freely between regions. Rather than distinct boundaries, there existed gradual shifts in form and behavior, a blending shaped by geography and environment. These contact zones, sometimes described as ecological gradients, allowed for the exchange of traits over generations. Tigers in such areas may have carried characteristics of both neighboring populations, reflecting a history of connection rather than isolation. Only later, as habitats became fragmented and distances between populations increased, did these gradual differences become more defined. Beyond its closest relatives, the Bengal tiger shares a deeper ancestry with other great cats. The lion, for example, diverged along a different evolutionary path, favoring open savannas and social living. The jaguar, separated by continents, became a master of dense American rainforests, developing an even stronger bite for crushing armored prey. The leopard, perhaps the most adaptable of them all, spread across both Africa and Asia, surviving in environments ranging from deserts to mountains. Despite their differences, all retain echoes of a shared origin, visible in their form, behavior, and hunting strategies. Among these relatives, the tiger stands apart in one defining way. It is a solitary ruler. Where lions rely on pride structures and cooperation, the tiger's evolution favored independence. This solitary nature shaped not only its behavior, but also its physical and sensory adaptations. It became an animal designed to rely entirely on its own strength, its own perception, and its own patience. The body of the Bengal tiger reflects this evolutionary path. Its powerful limbs are built for short bursts of speed and explosive force rather than endurance. Its retractable claws remain sharp, hidden until the moment of attack. Its skull houses strong jaw muscles capable of delivering a precise killing bite. Even its senses are finely tuned to a solitary life. Its hearing can detect the faintest movements in dense vegetation, and its vision, especially in low light, allows it to operate in the hours when many other animals are most vulnerable. Yet perhaps the most remarkable feature shaped by its evolution is its coat. To human eyes, the tiger's orange coloration seems almost conspicuous, a bright flame moving through green surroundings. But this perception is shaped by human vision, not by the eyes of its prey. Many of the animals the tiger hunts, such as deer, perceive the world differently. Their vision does not distinguish red and green in the same way, rendering the tiger's orange fur as muted tones closer to the surrounding vegetation. In the filtered light of the forest, where sunlight breaks through leaves and falls in shifting patterns, the tiger's coat blends with surprising effectiveness. The orange becomes a warm echo of dried grass, sunlit bark, and fallen leaves. The black stripes, irregular and vertical, mimic the shadows cast by branches and tall grasses. Together, these elements break up the outline of the tiger's body, transforming it from a recognizable shape into a fragmented pattern that is difficult to detect. This form of camouflage is not about invisibility in the absolute sense. It is about confusion and delay. A prey animal may sense movement, may catch a glimpse of something unusual, but fails to immediately recognize the presence of a predator. In those brief moments of uncertainty, the tiger closes the distance. Its movements are slow, deliberate, and nearly silent, each step placed with care to avoid sound. Yet even within this finely tuned balance of color and shadow, the tiger's appearance is not entirely uniform, and subtle variations reveal the underlying flexibility of its design. Within this carefully evolved pattern of color and shadow, variation can still occur. Not all individuals of the Bengal tiger share the same deep orange coat that is so closely associated with the species. On rare occasions, genetic differences give rise to alternative forms, subtle reminders that even within a highly refined design, diversity persists. The most well-known of these is the white tiger, an animal whose pale coat and dark stripes create a striking contrast against the landscapes it inhabits. This appearance is not the result of albinism, but of a recessive genetic trait that reduces pigmentation while preserving the pattern of stripes. The eyes remain colored, and the markings, though altered in tone, still follow the same structural arrangement as in orange individuals. In the wild, such coloration presents challenges. The effectiveness of the tiger's camouflage depends on its ability to blend into environments shaped by shadow, vegetation, and filtered light. A pale coat, while visually remarkable, disrupts this balance, making concealment more difficult. For this reason, white individuals are rare in natural settings, where survival depends on remaining unseen. Other variations exist, though they are even less commonly observed. Some individuals display a lighter, more muted coloration, often referred to as a golden form, in which the contrast between stripes and background is softened. There are also accounts, though rare and not always confirmed, of darker individuals in which the stripes merge into a deeper overall tone. These variations reflect small changes in the expression of pigmentation, subtle shifts within the broader framework of the tiger's appearance. Such diversity arises from the same processes that shape all aspects of the tiger's form. Genetic variation, combined with the pressures of survival, determines which traits persist and which remain uncommon. In most cases, the familiar orange coat endures because it offers the greatest advantage, refined over generations to match the environments in which the tiger lives. Yet the existence of these alternative forms offers a glimpse into the underlying flexibility of the species. Beneath the uniform image often associated with the tiger lies a spectrum of possibility, a quiet variation that echoes the long and complex history of its evolution. Silence itself is another product of its evolutionary refinement. The soft pads of its paws absorb impact, allowing it to move across forest floors without alerting those nearby. Even dry leaves and twigs, which might betray other animals, are navigated with precision. Combined with its camouflage, this silence creates a predator that exists on the edge of perception, often detected only when it is already too late. Over countless generations, natural selection favored those individuals that could approach unseen, strike effectively, and survive to pass on their traits. The Bengal tiger that exists today is the result of this long process, a culmination of adaptations shaped by environment, prey, and competition. Its ancestry is written not only in its genes, but in every aspect of its being, in the way it moves through shadows, in the structure of its body, and in the deceptive brilliance of its coat. The history of the tiger remains present, alive in each silent step it takes through the forests it calls home. Part 2. Habitats. Across the Indian subcontinent and into the foothills of the Himalayas, the range of the Bengal tiger unfolds across a remarkable variety of landscapes. Few large predators demonstrate such flexibility in habitat. From dense tropical forests to open grasslands, from dry woodlands to riverine systems, the Bengal tiger moves through environments that differ not only in appearance, but in climate, prey availability, and seasonal rhythms. In India, which holds the majority of the global population, these tigers inhabit regions that shift dramatically between wet and dry seasons. Monsoon rains transform forests into dense, humid worlds, where visibility is reduced and movement is softened by damp earth. During drier periods, vegetation thins, water sources shrink, and animals are drawn into predictable patterns around rivers and remaining pools. The tiger adapts to both extremes, adjusting its movements and hunting strategies to match the changing landscape. Beyond India, populations extend into Bangladesh, Nepal, and Bhutan. In these regions, elevation begins to play a role. In the lowlands, tigers move through tall grasses and riverine forests, where prey is abundant, but visibility is limited. In higher elevations, particularly along the Himalayan foothills, forests become cooler and more rugged, and the terrain itself shapes the movements of both predator and prey. One of the most unusual habitats occupied by Bengal tigers lies at the edge of land and sea, within the vast mangrove forests of the Sundarbans. Here, the environment is defined by water. Tides rise and fall, channels shift, and the ground itself can be unstable. Salt water mixes with fresh water, creating a complex ecosystem unlike any other tiger habitat. In this world of tangled roots and narrow waterways, the tiger becomes not only a forest predator, but a creature of rivers and tides. In the Sundarbans, swimming is not an occasional behavior, but a necessity. Tigers regularly cross channels, sometimes traveling long distances through water to move between islands. Their bodies, already powerful on land, are well suited to this environment. Strong limbs and large paws allow them to push through currents, while their tolerance for water sets them apart from many other big cats. In the heat of the day, even outside the mangroves, Bengal tigers often rest partially submerged, using water to regulate their body temperature. In grassland regions, particularly those associated with large river systems, the landscape presents a different set of challenges and advantages. Tall grasses can grow higher than the tiger itself, creating a world of shifting visibility where both predator and prey rely heavily on sound and subtle movement. Here, the tiger's striped coat becomes especially effective. Vertical bands of shadow and light echo the structure of the grasses, allowing the animal to disappear even in open terrain. Dry forests and scrublands introduce yet another variation. In these areas, vegetation is more sparse and cover is less reliable. The tiger must rely more heavily on terrain features such as rocks, depressions, and patches of shade to remain concealed. Prey species in these environments are often more alert, adapted to detecting danger in more open spaces. As a result, the tiger's movements become even more deliberate, its approach more cautious. Despite these differences, certain elements remain constant across all habitats. Water is essential. Tigers are rarely found far from a reliable source of it, not only because they drink frequently, but because water attracts prey. Rivers, lakes, and seasonal pools become focal points of activity, drawing herbivores into predictable patterns that the tiger can learn and exploit. Territory is another defining feature of the tiger's relationship with its environment. A single individual may control an area that spans many tens of square kilometers, the exact size depending on the richness of the habitat. In regions where prey is abundant, territories can be smaller, allowing multiple tigers to live in closer proximity. In harsher environments, where food is more scarce, territories expand and encounters between individuals become less frequent. These territories are not defended through constant confrontation, but through communication. Scent markings placed along trails, trees, and boundaries serve as signals to other tigers, indicating presence and ownership. Scratches on bark and vocalizations that carry through the forest reinforce these messages. In this way, the landscape becomes layered with invisible information, understood by those who know how to read it. Within these territories, the tiger establishes routines shaped by both habit and necessity. Paths are followed repeatedly, often along the easiest routes through dense vegetation or along the edges of water. Resting sites are chosen for shade, visibility, and safety, allowing the tiger to conserve energy during the heat of the day. Hunting grounds are selected based on experience, memory, and the movement patterns of prey. The relationship between the Bengal tiger and its habitat is not static. It is a continuous exchange, shaped by seasons, weather, and the presence of other animals. Floods can alter landscapes, forcing tigers to relocate or adapt to new conditions. Droughts can concentrate prey and predators alike around shrinking water sources. Even subtle changes, such as shifts in vegetation or prey behavior, ripple through the system, influencing how the tiger lives and moves. Across all these environments, one theme remains clear. The Bengal tiger is not tied to a single type of landscape, but to a way of living within it. Its strength lies not only in power, but in adaptability. Whether moving through dense jungle, open grassland, or the shifting waterways of mangroves, it remains a constant presence, shaped by its surroundings and in turn, shaping the balance of life within them. Part 3. Prey. In the varied landscapes it inhabits, The Bengal tiger is defined by its role as an apex predator, a hunter whose survival depends on strength, precision, and an intimate understanding of the animals around it. The range of prey it relies on is as diverse as the environments it occupies, shaped by geography, season, and availability. Across forests, grasslands, and river systems, the tiger's diet reflects both opportunity and adaptation. At the center of its diet are large herbivores, animals that provide enough nourishment to sustain such a powerful predator. Among the most important are deer species, including the cheetal, whose herds move through forests and clearings, and the larger sambar deer, a more solitary and cautious animal that often inhabits denser cover. These prey species are well adapted to detecting danger, relying on keen hearing, acute senses of smell, and constant vigilance. To hunt them successfully requires not only strength, but patience and an ability to remain undetected until the final moment. In some regions, particularly where grasslands meet forest edges, the tiger may also hunt the formidable gaur, the largest wild cattle in the world. An adult gaur is a massive and dangerous animal, capable of injuring or even killing a predator that misjudges the attack. Yet tigers have been known to bring down such prey, typically targeting individuals that are young, old, or otherwise vulnerable. These hunts demand precision and timing, as the risk involved is far greater than when pursuing smaller animals. Wild pigs, such as the wild boar, are another important part of the tiger's diet. Unlike deer, which rely on speed and alertness, wild boar are aggressive and equipped with sharp tusks. Encounters between a tiger and a boar can be violent, with both animals capable of inflicting serious injury. Even so, the tiger's strength and technique often allow it to prevail. In wetter regions, especially near rivers and marshes, the tiger may also prey upon animals such as the barasingha, also known as the swamp deer, and occasionally even young individuals of larger species like the water buffalo. In rare cases, particularly in areas where habitats overlap, tigers have been known to attack young or weakened individuals of species as large as the Indian elephant, though such events are exceptional and involve considerable risk. The size of the prey a tiger can take is closely linked to its own strength and experience. Adult males, being larger and more powerful, are capable of tackling heavier animals, while females may focus more on medium-sized prey that can be subdued with less risk. This difference also reflects the demands placed on females, who must balance hunting with the care of cubs. Despite its preference for large prey, the tiger is not limited to it. When necessary, it will hunt smaller animals, including monkeys, birds, and even fish. This flexibility allows it to survive in times when larger prey is scarce. In the mangrove forests of the Sundarbans, for example, the tiger's diet can include a greater proportion of aquatic and smaller prey, reflecting the unique conditions of that environment. The act of hunting is shaped by the tiger's physical design and sensory abilities. It does not rely on long chases, as some predators do. Instead, it depends on stealth and proximity. The tiger moves slowly through its environment, using cover and terrain to approach within striking distance. Every step is controlled, every movement deliberate, minimizing sound and avoiding detection. Its camouflage plays a central role in this process. What appears as a striking orange coat to human eyes becomes something very different to the animals it hunts. Many prey species perceive color in a more limited way, rendering the tiger's coloration into tones that blend with the environment. Combined with the pattern of black stripes, which break up the outline of its body, the tiger becomes difficult to distinguish from the surrounding vegetation and shadows. As it approaches, the tiger often pauses, freezing in place when prey shows signs of alertness. In these moments, stillness becomes its greatest ally. Even at relatively close distances, the broken pattern of its coat can prevent recognition, buying the tiger the time it needs to close the final gap. When the moment comes, the attack is sudden and explosive. Powerful hind legs drive the tiger forward in a short burst of speed, covering the remaining distance in seconds. The forelimbs strike with force, unbalancing the prey, while the jaws deliver a killing bite. For smaller animals, this bite is often directed at the neck, severing vital structures. For larger prey, the tiger may clamp onto the throat, using its strength to suffocate the animal. After a successful hunt, the tiger often drags its kill away from the site of capture, sometimes over considerable distances. This behavior reduces the chance of losing the carcass to scavengers such as vultures or jackals. In some cases, the tiger may cover the remains with vegetation or soil, returning later to feed again. A single large kill can sustain a tiger for several days. It may consume large quantities of meat in one feeding, then rest nearby, conserving energy while digesting. During this time, it remains alert, aware that other predators or scavengers may attempt to approach. Not every hunt is successful. Many attempts end in failure, with prey escaping at the last moment or detecting the tiger before it can strike. These failures are a natural part of the tiger's life, shaping its behavior and reinforcing the importance of patience and efficiency. Each unsuccessful attempt represents lost energy, making the next opportunity even more critical. In this balance between effort and reward, the tiger's role becomes clear. It is not simply a predator, but a regulator of the ecosystems it inhabits. By targeting certain individuals, often the weak or the unwary, it influences the health and behavior of prey populations. Through its presence, it helps maintain a dynamic equilibrium, one in which both predator and prey continue to evolve in response to each other. Within this relationship, the Bengal tiger stands as both hunter and participant, its existence intertwined with the animals it pursues. Every movement, every decision, and every successful hunt reflects a long history of adaptation, a refinement of form and behavior that allows it to survive in a world where success is never guaranteed. Part 4. Family life. The continuation of life for the Bengal tiger depends not only on its ability to hunt, but on the quiet and demanding process of raising the next generation. Unlike social predators that share responsibilities, the tiger's solitary nature extends into reproduction and family life. The burden of nurturing and protecting the young rests almost entirely on the female, whose role shapes the early existence of each cub. Reproduction begins with brief encounters between male and female. These meetings are infrequent and often marked by tension. Both individuals are solitary by nature, and their interactions can be cautious, even aggressive at first. When a female enters a receptive period, she signals her presence through scent markings and vocalizations. A male within range may respond, following these cues across the landscape until the two meet. Their time together is short, lasting only a few days. During this period, mating occurs multiple times, after which the pair separates. The male takes no further part in the process. The female, now alone, carries the responsibility of gestation, which lasts for a little over 3 months. As this period progresses, she begins to seek out a safe and secluded place in which to give birth. These birth sites are chosen with great care. Dense vegetation, rocky outcrops, or hollowed spaces provide the shelter needed to conceal the cubs from potential threats. Safety is essential, as young cubs are vulnerable not only to predators, but sometimes even to other tigers. The female selects a location that offers both protection and proximity to hunting grounds, allowing her to balance the need to feed with the need to remain close to her offspring. When the cubs are born, they are small, blind, and entirely dependent. A typical litter consists of 2 to 4 cubs, though not all will survive to adulthood. In these early days, the mother rarely leaves them for long. She keeps them hidden, nursing them and maintaining the den, while remaining alert to any sign of danger. As the cubs grow, their eyes open, and their awareness of the world begins to develop. They explore their immediate surroundings, at first clumsily, then with increasing confidence. The mother continues to protect them, moving them if necessary to new locations when she senses that their current den is no longer safe. This relocation behavior reduces the risk of predators or other tigers discovering the cubs. Feeding the cubs requires the mother to hunt, often more frequently than she would if alone. She must leave them behind during these hunts, a period of vulnerability that demands efficiency. Each successful kill provides not only for her own needs, but for the growing demands of her young. As the cubs begin to eat meat, she introduces them gradually, allowing them to feed on her kills while continuing to nurse. Learning to hunt is a gradual process. The cubs accompany their mother as they grow older, observing her movements and behavior. At first they play, mimicking the actions they see without understanding their purpose. These playful interactions, chasing, pouncing, and grappling, serve as early practice, building the coordination and strength they will need later in life. Over time, these behaviors become more focused. The cubs begin to follow their mother during hunts, staying back as she approaches prey. They watch the careful placement of her steps, the pauses, the stillness, and the final burst of speed. Occasionally, they attempt to participate, though their efforts are often clumsy and unsuccessful. Through repetition and observation, they refine their skills. The bond between mother and cubs is strong but temporary. For up to 2 or 3 years, the young remain with her, learning the essential skills of survival. During this period, the mother must balance teaching with protection. She defends them from threats and ensures that they have access to food, while gradually encouraging independence. Not all cubs survive this journey. Mortality rates are high, influenced by factors such as starvation, predation, and conflict with other tigers. Males, in particular, may pose a threat to cubs that are not their own, sometimes killing them to bring the female back into a reproductive state. These risks are part of the harsh realities of life in the wild, shaping the strategies and behaviors of both mother and offspring. As the cubs approach maturity, their relationship with their mother begins to change. Play becomes less frequent, replaced by more serious attempts at hunting. The young tigers start to explore beyond the immediate range of their mother's territory, testing their abilities and seeking opportunities of their own. Eventually, the time comes for dispersal. The young tigers leave their mother's territory, setting out to establish their own. This is a critical and dangerous phase. They must navigate unfamiliar landscapes, avoid established adults, and find areas where they can survive without direct competition. Some may travel long distances before settling, while others may not succeed at all. For those that do establish territories, the cycle begins again. The skills learned during their early years, the lessons of patience, stealth, and precision, become the foundation of their adult lives. The solitary existence of the tiger continues, each individual shaped by its experiences and environment. In this quiet cycle of birth, growth, and independence, the persistence of the Bengal tiger is maintained. Each generation carries forward the adaptations and behaviors that have allowed the species to endure. The bond between mother and cub, though temporary, is essential, a brief but vital connection that ensures the continuation of a lineage built on strength, resilience, and the ability to survive alone. Part 5. Social bonds. For a creature often described as solitary, the life of the Bengal tiger is nonetheless shaped by a network of relationships, subtle, indirect, and governed by signals that pass through scent, sound, and memory. These connections do not resemble the social bonds of pack or pride, yet they form a complex system through which individuals coexist, avoid conflict, and at times, briefly come together. At the center of this system lies territory. Each adult tiger occupies a defined area, the size and boundaries of which are influenced by the availability of prey and the structure of the landscape. Within this space, the tiger moves with familiarity, following paths that link water sources, resting sites, and hunting grounds. These territories are not empty of others, but layered, overlapping in ways that reflect a balance between tolerance and avoidance. Males typically control larger territories that may encompass the ranges of several females. This arrangement allows a male to encounter receptive females while minimizing direct competition with other males. The boundaries between male territories are often marked with particular clarity, as encounters between them carry a higher risk of conflict. Through scent markings placed on trees, rocks, and along trails, a tiger announces its presence. These chemical signals persist over time, conveying information about identity, reproductive status, and recent activity. Females, whose territories are generally smaller, arrange their ranges in relation to both resources and the presence of males. Overlap between neighboring females can occur, especially in areas where prey is abundant, but direct encounters are usually avoided. Each individual moves according to its own rhythm, adjusting its activity to reduce the likelihood of confrontation. In this way, a form of spatial coordination emerges, shaped not by direct communication, but by the continuous reading of signs left in the environment. Vocalizations add another layer to these interactions. The roar of a tiger can travel over long distances, carrying through forests and across open land. It serves multiple purposes, from announcing territory to signaling reproductive readiness. Lower, less audible sounds, including those beyond the range of human hearing, may also play a role, creating a channel of communication that extends beyond immediate proximity. These sounds allow tigers to remain aware of one another without the need for visual contact. Encounters between adults are relatively rare, but when they occur, they follow patterns shaped by instinct and experience. In many cases, one individual will withdraw, avoiding escalation. Displays of dominance, posture, and vocalization can resolve potential conflicts without physical confrontation. Actual fights are dangerous and costly, carrying the risk of injury that could compromise a tiger's ability to hunt. For this reason, avoidance is often the preferred outcome. The relationship between male and female is defined by distance punctuated by brief periods of closeness. Outside of the mating period, they move independently, their paths crossing only occasionally. When a female enters a receptive state, her behavior changes, and the signals she leaves in the environment become more pronounced. A male, detecting these cues, may follow them across considerable distances. Their meeting is temporary, intense, and focused solely on reproduction. Once it ends, they separate, returning to their solitary routines. Among siblings, the earliest social bonds are formed. Cubs grow together, playing, competing, and learning within the shared space of their mother's territory. These interactions are the closest approximation to sustained social life that a tiger experiences. Through play, they develop coordination and strength, but also a sense of hierarchy and individual temperament. Even within a litter, differences emerge, some cubs more cautious, others more assertive. As they mature, these bonds begin to loosen. Competition for food and space increases, and the shared life of the early months gives way to the necessity of independence. When dispersal occurs, siblings separate, often moving in different directions, their paths diverging as each seeks a territory of its own. Though they may remain within the broader landscape, their direct interactions diminish, replaced by the same indirect communication that governs all adult relationships. Occasionally, tigers may tolerate one another at a shared resource, such as a large kill or a reliable water source. These moments are brief and often tense, defined by an awareness of boundaries rather than cooperation. Each individual remains alert, ready to withdraw if the situation shifts. Such tolerance does not indicate social bonding in the way seen in other species, but rather a temporary alignment of circumstances. Even in isolation, memory plays a role in shaping these relationships. A tiger remembers the locations of others, the patterns of movement, and the outcomes of past encounters. This memory informs its decisions, guiding where it travels, when it hunts, and how it responds to signs of another's presence. In this way, the social structure of tigers exists not in constant interaction, but in a shared understanding of space and behavior. The life of the Bengal tiger, then, is not defined by solitude alone, but by a balance between independence and connection. Each individual moves through a landscape marked by others, responding to signals that are often invisible yet deeply influential. Through scent, sound, and memory, a network of relationships persists, allowing these powerful predators to coexist within the same world, while rarely standing face to face. Part 6. Rivals. The world of the Bengal tiger is not shaped by its presence alone. Within the same forests, grasslands, and river systems, a wide array of other animals move, feed, and survive, each responding in its own way to the tiger's existence. Some are competitors, others are opportunists, and many are simply participants in a shared environment where interactions are constant, even when rarely seen. Among the most significant of these are other large predators. In parts of India, the range of the tiger overlaps with that of the leopard, a smaller but highly adaptable cat. The relationship between the two is shaped by both competition and avoidance. Leopards, being lighter and more agile in trees, often occupy areas or times that reduce direct encounters with tigers. When their paths do cross, the tiger's greater size gives it the advantage, and leopards will usually retreat rather than risk confrontation. In response, they may shift their activity patterns, becoming more nocturnal or moving into steeper or more densely vegetated terrain. Another predator that shares parts of the tiger's range is the dhole, or Asiatic wild dog. Unlike the solitary tiger, dholes live and hunt in packs, relying on coordination and endurance rather than stealth. Their presence introduces a different kind of interaction. While a single dhole poses little threat to a tiger, a pack can be bold, sometimes harassing or attempting to drive a tiger away from a kill. Conversely, a tiger encountering a lone or vulnerable dhole may attack. These interactions are fluid, influenced by numbers, circumstance, and opportunity. In open and semi-open landscapes, the sloth bear represents another powerful inhabitant, primarily an insect feeder. The sloth bear is not a direct competitor for prey, yet encounters between bears and tigers can be intense. Sloth bears are known for their defensive aggression, and when surprised, they may stand their ground or charge. Tigers, in turn, may avoid such confrontations unless motivated by hunger or necessity. In some cases, tigers have been known to prey upon bears, particularly younger individuals, though such events carry significant risk. Beyond these large mammals, a host of smaller carnivores and scavengers interact with the tiger in indirect ways. The golden jackal often follows at a distance, drawn by the possibility of feeding on remains left behind after a kill. These animals rarely challenge the tiger directly, instead relying on caution and timing to approach once the predator has moved away or is resting nearby. Above the forest and plains, birds play their own role in this network. Species such as the vulture circle high in the sky, their keen vision allowing them to detect carcasses from great distances. While they do not interact with the tiger directly, their presence is linked to its hunting success. A kill made by a tiger may eventually become a feeding ground for these birds, which descend once it is safe to do so. In some cases, their circling flight can even signal the presence of a carcass, information that may be noticed by other scavengers. Closer to the ground, smaller birds and mammals may take advantage of the disturbances created by the tiger's movements. When a tiger passes through vegetation, it can flush insects or small animals, creating brief opportunities for other species to feed. These interactions are subtle, often unnoticed, yet they form part of the continuous exchange between predator and environment. The remains of a tiger's kill rarely go to waste. After the tiger has fed, what remains becomes part of a broader cycle. Scavengers consume what they can, and what is left is broken down further by insects and microorganisms. In this way, the energy captured by the tiger returns to the ecosystem, supporting a wide range of life beyond the immediate act of predation. Even species that are not directly linked through feeding relationships are influenced by the tiger's presence. Herbivores adjust their movements and behavior in response to the risk it represents. Areas frequently used by tigers may be avoided or approached with greater caution, altering grazing patterns and the use of space. This in turn affects vegetation, creating a cascade of changes that extend far beyond the predator itself. Water sources often become shared points of interaction. In the heat of the day, a tiger may rest near a river or pool, partially submerged. Other animals approach these same places to drink, sometimes aware of the danger, sometimes not. The timing of these visits becomes crucial, with many species choosing moments when the tiger is less active. These shared resources create a dynamic where presence and absence shape behavior as much as direct encounters. In rare instances, the tiger may encounter animals that are neither prey nor competitor in any meaningful sense, yet still form part of its world. Monkeys in the canopy may watch its passage, sounding alarm calls that ripple through the forest. Deer may freeze or flee at its scent. Even animals too small to be of interest respond to the vibrations of its movement, their lives momentarily altered by its proximity. Within this web of interactions, the Bengal tiger stands as both participant and influence. It does not dominate every encounter, nor is it isolated from the effects of others. Instead, it exists within a balance, its actions shaping and being shaped by the many forms of life that share its habitat. The presence of the tiger creates a landscape defined not only by what is seen, but by what is anticipated. Each animal within it carries an awareness, a constant calculation of risk and opportunity. Through this shared understanding, a complex and ever-changing system emerges, one in which the tiger remains a central but not solitary force. Part 7. Human History. The presence of the Bengal tiger has long extended beyond the forests and grasslands it inhabits, entering the stories, beliefs, and histories of the people who have lived alongside it. For thousands of years, this animal has been both feared and revered, its image woven into mythology, symbolism, and the collective memory of human societies across South Asia. In many traditions, the tiger is seen not merely as a predator, but as a creature embodying strength, protection, and power. In parts of India, it is closely associated with the goddess Durga, who is often depicted riding a tiger into battle. In this form, the tiger becomes more than an animal. It is a symbol of divine force, a companion to a figure who represents the triumph of order over chaos. The image reflects both admiration and an understanding of the tiger's formidable nature. Across different regions, local beliefs have also shaped the way tigers are perceived. In the mangrove forests of the Sundarbans, where human settlements exist alongside tiger territory, spiritual practices have developed that acknowledge the danger of living near such a predator. Bombibi, a guardian figure of the forest who is revered by both Hindus and Muslims living in the area, is invoked for protection, representing a balance between human survival and respect for the natural world. In these stories, the tiger is not simply an enemy, but a force that must be understood and approached with caution. Historically, the relationship between humans and tigers has been complex and often tense. As human populations expanded and forests were cleared for agriculture and settlement, the space available to tigers diminished. This brought the two into closer contact, increasing the likelihood of encounters. In some cases, tigers have preyed upon livestock, and in rarer instances, humans themselves. Such events have contributed to the fear that surrounds the animal, shaping attitudes that range from reverence to hostility. The phenomenon of man-eating tigers, though uncommon, has played a significant role in shaping human perception. These cases are often linked to specific circumstances, such as injury, old age, or scarcity of natural prey, which make it more difficult for a tiger to hunt its usual targets. When this occurs, the tiger may turn to easier alternatives, including humans. These situations are rare but deeply impactful, leaving lasting impressions on communities and reinforcing the image of the tiger as both powerful and unpredictable. In the tidal landscapes of the Sundarbans, where freshwater is scarce and much of the environment is shaped by saltwater intrusion, some researchers have suggested that the high salinity of available water may influence the physiology and behavior of the Bengal tiger, potentially increasing stress or altering normal hunting patterns, and contributing, in part, to the unusually frequent encounters with humans observed in this region, though this remains a subject of ongoing study rather than a confirmed cause. At the same time, the tiger has also been a subject of admiration and fascination. Its image appears in art, literature, and national identity. It is the national animal of India, representing strength and heritage. Efforts to protect the tiger have become a symbol of broader conservation movements, reflecting a growing recognition of its importance, not only as a species, but as a key part of the ecosystems it inhabits. In modern times, conservation initiatives have sought to balance the needs of human populations with the survival of the taiga. Protected areas have been established, creating spaces where tigers can live with reduced human interference. Programs aimed at reducing conflict, such as improved livestock management and community engagement, attempt to address the challenges that arise when humans and tigers share the same landscape. Despite these efforts, the coexistence of humans and tigers remains a delicate balance. In regions where their ranges overlap, daily life is shaped by an awareness of the tiger's presence. People adjust their routines, avoiding certain areas at particular times, remaining alert to signs of danger. In turn, tigers often adapt their behavior to minimize contact, becoming more nocturnal or avoiding areas of high human activity. The interaction between humans and the Bengal tiger is not defined by a single narrative. It is a story of conflict and coexistence, of fear and respect, of loss and protection. It reflects the broader relationship between humanity and the natural world, where the expansion of one often comes at the expense of the other, yet where efforts can be made to restore balance. Over time, perceptions of the tiger have continued to evolve. Where once it may have been seen primarily as a threat, it is now increasingly recognized as a vital part of the environment, a species whose survival is linked to the health of entire ecosystems. This shift in understanding has led to renewed efforts to ensure that the tiger remains a living presence rather than a memory. In the stories told about it, in the symbols it represents, and in the realities of those who live alongside it, the Bengal tiger occupies a place that is both physical and cultural. It exists not only in the forests and rivers of its range, but in the human imagination, where it continues to inspire awe, caution, and a deep sense of connection to the wild. Part 8. Conservation. The future of the Bengal tiger is tied closely to the changing world around it, a world shaped increasingly by human activity. Across its range, forests have been reduced, fragmented, and altered, transforming landscapes that once allowed tigers to move freely into isolated pockets of habitat. These changes affect not only the tiger itself, but the intricate systems of life that depend on its presence. One of the greatest challenges facing the tiger is the loss of habitat. As land is converted for agriculture, infrastructure, and settlement, the continuous stretches of forest that tigers require become divided. This fragmentation limits movement, reducing access to prey and increasing the likelihood of encounters with humans. Isolated populations, separated from one another, face additional risks, including reduced genetic diversity and increased vulnerability to disease and environmental change. Poaching remains another significant threat. Tigers have long been targeted for their skins, bones, and other body parts, driven by illegal trade and demand. Despite legal protections and international agreements, this pressure persists, requiring constant effort to monitor and prevent. The loss of even a small number of individuals can have a profound impact, particularly in smaller populations where each tiger plays a critical role in maintaining balance. In response to these challenges, conservation efforts have taken many forms. Protected areas have been established across countries such as India, Nepal, Bhutan, and Bangladesh, creating spaces where tigers can live with reduced human interference. Within these reserves, efforts are made to maintain prey populations, monitor tiger movements, and prevent illegal activities. Technology, including camera traps and tracking systems, allows researchers to study individuals and better understand their behavior and needs. Corridors between habitats have become an important focus. By connecting isolated areas, these pathways allow tigers to move, disperse, and find new territories, supporting genetic exchange and reducing the risks associated with isolation. The success of such efforts depends not only on ecological planning, but on cooperation between regions and communities. Human-tiger conflict remains a complex issue. As tigers move through landscapes that include villages and farmland, encounters can occur, sometimes resulting in the loss of livestock or, in rare cases, human life. Addressing this conflict requires a balance between protecting people and preserving the tiger. Measures such as the improved livestock management, early warning systems, and compensation programs aim to reduce tensions and support coexistence. In places like the Sundarbans, where human and tiger territories overlap closely, this balance is especially delicate. Here, adaptation occurs on both sides. People adjust their behavior, entering forests with caution and awareness, while tigers often alter their activity patterns to avoid areas of frequent human presence. The relationship is not without risk, but it reflects an ongoing effort to share a landscape that neither can fully claim alone. Encouragingly, there have been signs of recovery in some regions. Through sustained conservation efforts, tiger numbers have stabilized or increased in certain protected areas. These successes demonstrate that with careful management, enforcement, and community involvement, it is possible to support the survival of this species. Yet these gains remain fragile, dependent on continued commitment and vigilance. The importance of the Bengal tiger extends beyond its own existence. As an apex predator, it plays a crucial role in regulating prey populations and maintaining the health of ecosystems. Its presence influences the behavior and distribution of other species, shaping the structure of the environment in ways that support biodiversity. Protecting the tiger, therefore, means protecting the broader systems of which it is a part. In the quiet movement of a tiger through the forest, there is a reflection of something older and more enduring than the changes of recent history. It is a reminder of landscapes that once stretched unbroken, of relationships between species that developed over long periods of time. The challenge now is not only to preserve the tiger itself, but to preserve the conditions that allow it to exist. The story of the Bengal tiger is still being written. It is a story shaped by pressure and resilience, by loss and recovery, by conflict and cooperation. Whether it continues into the future depends on choices made beyond the forest, in the ways humans interact with the natural world. For now, the tiger remains, moving through shadow and light, a presence both powerful and elusive. In its survival lies not only the continuation of a species, but the persistence of a balance that has defined its world for generations. The end.